Well, hello, Arkhamites. We hope you brought your appetite into today's episode because we hereby invite you to be our guest, put our service to the test, and join us in the latest installation of Arkham Archives, your one and only Batwoman-centric podcast. My name is Inish, and I'll be your host for the time being, and boy do we have a 5 meal course prepared just for you. Joining me are my fellow prisoners, Anna and Fran, who are just starving to dig into this week's episode. Hello ladies, how are you doing?
Hi. Doing good, doing good.
Good. A roller coaster week, but good.
Well, this is your friendly reminder that you can interact with us through social media on Arkham_Archives and participate in this week's discussion. We'd love to hear from you, whether it's about the podcast or just your overall thoughts about the show, its characters, and ships. But without any more delays, let's get into this episode. So this week, Ryan invited Sophie to be her plus one to a dinner at Jada's house. But things quickly got heated when one little piggy decided to invite himself into the intimate gathering and, cause a scene. Meanwhile, Alice's vacation from Arkham got rudely interrupted by Montoya, who's on a mission to locate an old fling of hers. And finally, Mary's future seems to be tangled up in vines, so that's what you missed. But onto what you're all here for, our questions and thoughts on the episode. I think it's fair to say this episode had us squealing with joy for more than one reason. Don't you guys think?
Mm-hmm.
I know, for one, I smiled from ear to ear through the whole episode.
Inish, I sure hope you're being ironic, but I actually can't be sure because I know how much you love horror, so I wouldn't put it past you to had been actually grinning from ear to ear throughout the episode. That wasn't my experience personally. I don't love horror, quite the opposite. I feel like I might have to start getting ready for jump scares with the way that the show is carrying on lately.
Oh.
I didn't know that I was signing up for horror with Batwoman, but I have to say that they found a good balance and the episode definitely flew by, and I think it might have been the best of the season yet.
Yes, this episode was really cool, and it was something that I think Batwoman didn't do before, and it was also one of my favorite episodes, maybe ever. It was just amazing the way
Wow.
they did the horror. Yeah, the horror, but also it was really fun, and the balance was so great. I'm just amazed at how they directed that, both in terms of the cinematography and also just the lines were good. Just it was amazing.
Mm-hmm. I know the episode was directed by David Ramsey from Arrow, so that was kind of cool.
You told me and I just forgot. I remember that now. Nice.
Yeah, and I agree with you that it was probably one of my favorites, if not my favorite Batwoman episode until now, because, I watched it at... Exactly, and it was tense, it was entertaining, and I watched it at 2 a.m. with Liliana, and we somehow stayed up until 4, giggling and theorizing about this episode and the future of the show, so I think it was easily one of my favorites.
But were you actually smiling though?
Oh, of course, yes I was.
You were smiling when that guy was just killing everyone?
Unlike you, I love horror, so...
Wow.
I love being tense, but I wasn't smiling for sure.
Yeah.
I was just tensing up the whole time.
I'm in my Alice era with the show, I guess.
The villain.
Speaking of Alice, though, let's use that as a great segue into our first topic. Alice and Sophie, or Sophies, as you will. We obviously didn't have a podcast last season to talk about this, so people don't know this, but I think I'm speaking for all of us when I say this is one dynamic we really love to see on screen, and wanted more of. So, well, it seems we got it. You ask and you shall receive. Were the Sophie scenes everything you had hoped for, or, what did you think? Because Alice wearing Sophie's ex-husband's clothes was a nice touch, in my opinion.
Oh, I love Roomy Alice being really relaxed and fun, and I think it was an amazing dynamic. And like you said, I was thinking we were robbed from this dynamic since season 1 because we could have had that, and finally, after 3 seasons, we get their dynamic that I said last time. Because they are polar opposites, it's really fun and always entertaining, and I'm always here for it.
And I think it's funny that you said polar opposites because I think I saw a post either on Tumblr or Twitter of someone saying that Sophie is like lawful good and Alice is chaotic evil. So it really is the polar opposites.
Yes, I agree.
I loved the line military trained babysitter. I thought that was really funny. I think they were the comic relief for this week's episode. It's a shame that they only had that opening scene. I wish, it would have rounded up with them back at home at the end of the episode or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like Sophie getting home after what happened and Alice just being there, like eating popcorn. That would have been really funny. Just to end on a high note instead of, just more depression. But yeah, they've been making me laugh. I love it. I think it's really funny that Kate hasn't been mentioned.
Oh yeah, they just forgot Kate exists.
Yeah, they literally like, who's Kate? Despite the fact that Alice is literally her twin sister and Sophie is literally her soulmate. But
yeah,
I think there's a lot of comedic potential with Kate there, so they should do that. And I definitely need more of it. That's all.
Mm-hmm. And like you said, though, Alice sure seemed to be enjoying her quote-unquote vacation with her new roomie. But of course, all good things must come to an end. So not only are her hallucinations back, but Renee has her back at work to try and identify a new villain with a thing for whips. So kinky, am I right? But on a more serious tone, were you expecting like the whole backstory for Ivy and Montoya?
Unfortunately, I did get spoiled on that one because Twitter is dangerous and I tried my best, but it didn't work. It was the only thing I think I got spoiled on for the episode, which is not bad, but it didn't, it wasn't a jaw-dropping moment for me because of that. But I still think that it's really nice that they're making Montoya's queerness explicit because we talked about how she's gay in the comics.
Mm-hmm.
And it's nice that they're not just, oh, yes, we have this character and she's gay in the comics, but you never really see it on screen, which is what usually happens everywhere else, but not Batwoman, as we know. So it's cool that they're giving her a backstory. They're connecting her to one of the most exciting villains that the show's had. And I think what they've given us about their relationship seems really intense and powerful. And, I love those kinds of ships. So I am very interested to see more.
Yeah, I like that we finally got a backstory for Renee. And I also wasn't surprised because, like we mentioned, Ines told us that happened in the comics. So I was just expecting it. I don't think it was a twist. Maybe just for casual viewers, perhaps. But yeah, I'm really excited that she's not just there to help Batwoman, to give her a task to do this season, and then she actually has a backstory and that we get to slowly explore that. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm really happy that the show stuck to Ivy's origin story that we talked about in previous episodes. But yeah, I don't think there was anything between Montoya and Ivy in the comics, actually. So that's brand new for me. Because I know Renee was into another one of our red hair characters, but you know what? Maybe that woman just went with it and decided to give us this Poison Ivy, Renee Montoya storyline. I personally really enjoyed it. And yeah, that's just what I have to say about that.
Yeah, but I think it was obvious from that first episode where she is saying she really wants to know what happened. She was disappointed when she saw that the leaves didn't give to anything. Like she didn't think they were ivies. something like that happened. Yeah, so I think everyone realized they had a backstory from there.
True.
Yeah, I picked up on there being, something there, but I didn't, for whatever reason, because I really don't have a reason since Batwoman just gives us everything we want anyway, but for some reason I didn't think they would go there with them, and I'm happy that they did.
Yeah, me too. It gives Montoya another layer. It gives another layer to Montoya's character, and it makes us more engaged with her as viewers, I think.
Yeah.
Speaking of the previous weeks, I have to admit and take an L here because I was very wrong about Ivy's intentions towards Mary. It doesn't happen often, but I guess sometimes I'm wrong. I didn't think she was going to be one of Ivy's little experiments, but I also did not expect her to be literally turning into a brand new version of our favorite, or at least my favorite, green-thumbed villain.
Yeah.
So I don't know about you, but I'm very excited to see where this is going.
Yes, I have to say my crazy theory from last podcast episode was kind of right, and I was really excited because Mary is actually turning into a villain, kind of, and that's so exciting for her. It's something we never had before. One of the good ones turning to the other side, and I'm so excited for what it is to come and what it means at the end for the team. It will definitely put the team to the test.
Yes.
And also it's just funny that she's turning into a plant. I just find that really funny for some reason.
Yeah, I think the Mary's storyline this season is maybe the most unclear one, because there's really no telling where they're gonna go with this, and I really love that. It's all been happening in the shadows, and they're giving us very little information at a time, but still in a way that makes us completely engaged, and we are always looking out for it, which I think hasn't really happened, for example, with Luke or something like that. But with Mary, they've really made it like, yes, they're giving us very little information in short scenes, but every scene is very like, something is happening, something is happening, something is happening.
Yeah.
And it's working really well. I love it. I love that Mary's gonna get like a big storyline, which hasn't really happened before. Like, she's always been a supporting character for others, but now she's gonna have her storyline. Obviously, it's a side storyline, but it's hers, 100%. So yeah, it's gonna be great. And I love that she's kind of starting to stand up for herself, even though it's whatever is inside her that's doing that to her, giving her a little bit of a more loud and kind of rude voice, but it's still something that's cool, and I think Nicole is killing it. So I'm excited, definitely, because she's my favorite, and I really wanted a Mary-centered storyline. So
yeah, it was about time she had a storyline. I'm so excited for this.
Yeah, Mary is in her villain era, and I really think that her, unwillingly becoming a villain will hopefully make her see Alice in a new light, kind of, maybe, sort of, I hope.
Hopefully.
And I really agree with you that it's about time Nicole got her, 5 minutes of screen time, because damn, Nicole can act, and we all know that. So this season has been lacking a little in that department. So I'm very excited to see her just go with this and see where it takes us, because we never actually saw Mary in this light. She's always been, the compassionate and loving type. And I think, like Renee put it, we are going to see it shift with her becoming reckless, irrational. In this episode, she didn't give a fuck about Alice's hallucinations, which I'm glad the show, I'm glad they didn't just fix Alice, because that would have been
lame.
Yeah, pretty lame. That's the right word. And I'm glad that they are showing that it's all a process, because even though Alice is being medicated and she has people looking out for her right now, she still isn't okay. But yeah, I think that Alice is actually going to be the first person to notice that Mary isn't doing well. I mean, I think she already got the picture, but I'm mostly interested to see if she's gonna, go with it, or if she's gonna end up being the one to, like, pull Mary out of this, because I think that would be a very nice twist and a much needed evening of the moral balance in the show, I guess.
Honestly, knowing Batwoman, whatever we expect Alice to do, she's gonna do the opposite.
Always.
I think it would be a nice touch for her to be on Mary's side and actually be there for her more than the Bat team, who are a little bit busy at the moment. And I think that would make for great drama. But she could actually just use Mary for her advantage and, I don't know, just make her even more of a villain and really... really go into the Mary's dark side and explore that and take advantage of it, or she could try and touch and try and save her and try and bring out her nice side out again. I really have no idea. Like, literally Alice can go either way, and that's what's so exciting about her character. But whatever direction they go into, I think it's going to be great drama, and I think it might end up being my favorite storyline of the season. But no, jury's still out.
I agree.
I have no idea which way it's going to go either, but it's clear they're gonna have a lot of impact with each other, Mary and Alice, because they're making them have a lot of isolated scenes from the team for a reason.
Yeah.
So it's gonna explode in some way, and I'm excited for it.
Okay, enough with the entries. Let's get into our main course. And that's Wildmoore, of course. So, where do I even start?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we talked about tropes in the past few weeks. I don't remember if it was the past episode or the one before that. So, did anyone have fake dating in their bingo cards? Because I know I didn't.
I love that they're exploring each trope that there is, one by episode. It's amazing.
In my notes, I have like, oh no, what's the next? There's only one bed.
Yeah.
And it's funny you say that, because in my notes, I wrote that I'm fully convinced that the Batwoman writers have like a Wheel of Fortune type of thing with popular fan fiction tropes. Yeah, and they spin it every week just to, see what they are going to give us next. And I think that's great, actually. Even if that's not true, it's a great image in my head.
The staring at each other mid-fight after saving one another was also, I think, a part of that Wheel of Fortune.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like when she's like, watch out! And then they fall on the floor and then they share a look.
Oh yeah,
so
for
good.
sure.
And, Sophie for sure knew what she was doing there when she introduced herself as Ryan's girlfriend. Like, let's not lie to ourselves. And I don't know if you caught her look when Jada turned her back and Ryan looked at her all confused, but it was fucking priceless.
Yes, it was.
It was cute.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of comments on Wildmoore. It's always exciting. It's always fun. I'm always smiling. Like, I don't think I can express how I love them, because I will always say the same thing. They're being amazing. They're giving us fun moments. And yeah, we're here for it.
Yeah, I mean, they're wild and we want more.
Yes, it is.
But yeah, I just love that they both fell into the story so easily, even though they had like not rehearsed it before, because it was a spur of the moment thing. But I really have to say, what got to me personally was when Ryan was talking about how if she were dying, Sophie would sit beside her, put her arms around her, and tell her everything would be okay, because, fucking season 2 parallels. Just put a knife to my heart next time and it'll hurt less, So was anyone okay after that?
I really love that line in terms of the writing, because I love it when they have those kinds of parallels. I love parallels. I think that's the best thing about storytelling and about being someone that can manage a story from outside and move those parts along. We don't really notice those things in real life, but they do happen, and when you get to put them in a story, it's always very satisfying to me. So I'm always trying to pick up on those. And I love that they kind of framed a past event in a new light, and that kind of makes you realize that it was very romantic all along.
Mm-hmm.
It was never, obviously at that point they didn't have feelings for each other, but if they look at it now from where they are and how they feel about one another, they kind of realized like, hey, she was doing this for me all along, and it took me this long to realize it. And I love when that happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that scene wasn't my favorite one, and it's a hot take. It seemed to come out a bit out of the blue. I didn't feel a lot of emotion in that scene. I mean, it was cute, but I think I said this other times, when they get too dramatic too quickly, it doesn't hit me. So yeah, for some reason that didn't really affect me. But I do like what you said about the parallels. I think it has more emotion if you think of it like that.
Personally, it hit me a lot. And I think most of all because Megan acted the fuck out of it when Sophie was like on the edge of tears and had to excuse herself to go to the bathroom. Not because she actually, had to do any work, but because she was feeling herself become vulnerable. So I think as of now, everything is like sort of, but not really one-sided. Like, we know for sure that Sophie's catching feelings, and it's become very clear on the show. And I think that was a beautiful moment to show that, because, while Ryan could have been saying that in a sort of nonchalant way, just, to play along with what's happening, Sophie didn't feel it that way.
Yeah, exactly. I think they were the two sides of it. So, like, Ryan was trying to pick up on something that happened between them to sell their story as girlfriends, but in like a lighthearted way. She was like, oh, let me think of something that Sophie has actually done for me, so it's easier when I lie and when I pretend that it was romantic, even though it wasn't. And then Sophie was like, oh shit, but I like you now, so this is completely different from me, and you might not be returning my feelings, and you're using this she's having all these conflicting thoughts, and she doesn't know where Ryan stands. I think she does later after the first date comment, and that makes her smile when she's like, oh, okay, she likes me too.
Yeah.
And that's nice.
Yeah, that makes sense. I just thought it was a bit scripted. So because I knew it was fake, I didn't think of it like that, like you said, that one of them thought it was true and actually had feelings. I don't know. It was, I don't know. It didn't hit me. It was a bit scripted, I think. And that's why I didn't feel it.
And that's it on our hot take of the week.
Yes.
There always has to be one in the episodes.
Yeah, we always have to have one.
But yeah, you were talking about them joking about, the whole family function being their first date. I mean, come on. It's like the Batwoman writers are out to get us with that. I think I might have been actually crying a little while having the absolute cheesiest smile on my face.
Yeah, that was very cute.
But anyway, now that we got that out of our systems, so Professor Pig and the Jets, am I right? You guys know I'm a sucker for horror and thriller. It's never been a surprise, so it also should come as no surprise that I fucking love the vibes of this episode. So what did you think of it? Do you like this type of tone for Batwoman? Do you prefer the previous seasons? I mean, Fran, I might have an idea what you're gonna answer.
Honestly, I might actually surprise you, because I feel like this works really well. Just as long as they have just one jump scare an episode, I should be fine.
The limit.
Yeah, the one in this episode was okay. When the pig shows up behind Marcus's girlfriend, I was like, but I didn't, have trouble going around my house after the episode. So I can tell that it's a nice balance if I can still, walk around empty, dark corridors and be okay. If I start not being able to like go to the bathroom after watching an episode of Batwoman, then I know that it's like, it's going over the edge for me. But for now, I'm fine. I'm not actually having nightmares about Professor Pig, so
nice.
Yeah, I thought the horror was cool. It works really, really well with the show. I feel like it's always been there and they're just bringing it out a little bit more. I think you mentioned that they're changing the time that the episodes air, and that might be why.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm cool with it, just as long as it remains in this kind of area and just as long as it stays in this level, it doesn't go further.
Yeah, that's your limit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it. Professor Pig was as creepy as I was expecting him to be from the pictures that we saw. And I like that we keep on the Eat the Rich team of this season with with his excuse being that she fired him for no reason and that it ended up destroying his entire family. Oof, he's right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I always support villains with that excuse.
And I really like that underlying comment that, it was meaningless to her to say that she didn't like the food, but then it changed his whole life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she didn't even know his name, basically.
Yeah.
Yikes.
That was a yikes for sure. I know that I said I took an L with my Mary theory earlier, but I'm also here to collect my win with my theory on Jada and the Jets from our previous podcast episode. So, Mama Jet really did send Ryan away to protect her, and even though I'm still not entirely letting her off the hook just yet, I can help but, sympathize with her a little bit more now. So, do you guys still think she's shady, or do you believe her story?
Yeah, I still think Jada's shady. I think the way that the writers have introduced her to us makes her a completely unreliable narrator and a completely unreliable character. So I have no trust in her, so I don't believe her word almost ever, which I think is like kind of the writer's fault. It's gonna take more than just a big speech and what she said in this episode for me to start believing her. I think there's still a lot. Like, even as Ryan, I wouldn't trust her. As a viewer, I don't trust her. If she turned out in the next episode to be, just completely lying, I would be like, okay, that makes sense. But that might just be me and the way that I've interpreted the character so far. I do love that they're keeping her ambiguous. I love that they're giving us very little at a time and changing up on what we're supposed to think about her. But it does make it hard for us to know what is true, what is not, and what we can actually trust is the truth, which always happens in these kinds of shows when there's a lot of twists.
Yeah.
Because it's always like, okay, we have this information now, but it's going to be revealed to be fake later. And then you start having trust issues. I have that issue with the shows that are filled with plot twists. And I think that's a very thin line to walk on. I think they've done a great job with other things. But with Jada, I am still not completely sold on her "my son is the villain" story. I still think there might be more to her character. I still think there might be more to Marcus's character. Who knows what we're going to find out about their family history? Who knows if it was just the Joker? Who knows if she's really the victim or if she maybe did things to worsen Marcus's condition? Because we don't know if she's a good mother, honestly. All we've seen are a couple of home videos. So for sure, I am not trusting Jada just yet. And I don't think Ryan should either.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because the first thing I thought was they make her be a villain that also has a good side. Because those villains, not everything they do is evil. They have their good side and their bad side. And those are my favorites because they're really complex. So I really believe she's protecting Ryan from her son, but I also believe she's not innocent. And like Fran said, I also thought she had something to do somehow, I don't know, with the Joker, or she made something to worsen his condition. I also thought about that, but I like that she's being more complex than what we thought of her, that she was just rich and evil, basically.
Yeah. I think, I don't know if it's the actress or the acting or what, but she always looks like she has something up her sleeve. Even when she is being vulnerable and supposedly genuine, I still feel like, I don't know if it's her face or what, but I always feel like, is it though? I don't trust her.
So I guess all that's left for us to talk about then is Marcus. I think these writers sure know how to put a cherry on top of an already great episode, and never in a million years did I expect this show to go anywhere near a Joker-type storyline. But here we are, and honestly, I'm here for it. So, were any of you surprised by this?
I love the way that you put it, cherry on top, because it really was, because the episode was so good, and it had such good pacing, it had such good build-up, and it had like a really nice climax, and that doesn't always happen. But with this one, it was just a perfect episode in terms of screenwriting. I would say each scene had their own tension, and then the episode as a whole had a very perfect, like it was just the perfect build-up, and the tension levels were very well crafted throughout. And it was such a strong episode, and then it really needed a strong punchline, and I felt like the Joker did this to my son was the perfect punchline and was the needed punchline. On the other hand, I almost felt like I had been spoiled, not with the Joker specifically, but with Marcus's being evil because of your theory, Nish. I hadn't been spoiled. I did not know that the show had confirmed your thoughts, but because we had put that option on the table already, I was like, oh, okay, I felt like I already knew this. But no, it was just us making up shit. Us. But you know how that kind of, in your brain, it kind of gets mixed up. That was how I felt. But it still worked perfectly. And I think this season is shaping up to be the best season of Batwoman yet.
That was me with the Renee and the Ivy thing. I was like, oh yeah, we talked about this. Of course they're gay. And I forgot that wasn't canon.
Yeah. It's like, did we read about this or did we just make this up?
Exactly. Just too smart, too smart.
Yeah, and we think about this show so much that sometimes it really does blur in, like what happened in the show and what happened in our heads.
Absolutely.
But yeah, Fran, I really have to agree with you that this episode really was pretty fantastic in script writing terms, at least. And I mean in everything else, but script writing mostly. Because I think it really improves with the power of hindsight, because I had the opportunity to watch the episode twice already. So in the second time, there was a lot of foreshadowing that happened that I hadn't picked up the first time around. Like, for example, when Marcus first walks into his home, and notices that the butler wasn't there, his first line is, not the first, but one of his first line goes something like, you never know what kind of psycho might come waltzing into this place.
Oh, yes.
And, turns out he's a psycho walking into this place, so...
And also the chef. The chef was literally serving the food. So it has like double layers of meaning, which is really cool.
Yeah, it was very cool. And, the moment in the couch between Ryan and Jada when she's talking about something like, if you don't listen to me, that will be the least of your problems, or something like that. So she knows that if Ryan doesn't listen to her, she's gonna end up dying because she's gonna get entangled with Marquise, and Marquise has a temper and he's going to try to kill Ryan. So I think knowing what happened really improved the second viewing of this episode.
I love when that happens.
Yeah, and I love that he's dark. He's not just... I love the twist because he's not just a rich, spoiled kid. He actually wants to murder Ryan. And I think he's going to be the big bad this season, like the Joker that was to Batman. He's like the Joker to the Batwoman. And I think that's really interesting. It was because we're moving on, obviously, from Alex being the villain. So now we have a big bad, and they are getting dark with it. Like we talked about, the show is getting really dark. So that makes for a really interesting high-stakes show, which I'm here for.
Yeah, I have also two other comments to make. One is that I think it might have stayed on the editing table, but we did talk about the possibility of Marcus just being a pathological liar. I think that was something that I said, that I felt like everything that was coming out of his mouth was a lie, and it ended up checking out because he's a sociopath, and being a pathological liar is what they do. And also, if you think about it, I know I keep bringing her up, and even the writers have forgotten she exists. But with Kate Kane's Batwoman, her nemesis was her sister. And now with Ryan Wilder's Batwoman, her nemesis will be her brother.
Yeah.
And that's a cool parallel.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's cool. Maybe, when you think about it, it's kind of repetitive, but at the same time, it's not. And it's maybe just a theme. And themes can work out if they're done correctly. So I'm very excited. I think the fact that they're siblings is going to add an extra layer to it, just like it added with Kate and Alice. Yeah. We might have some of the same tropes being repeated in the sense that Ryan might try and save, quote unquote, Marcus, try and, make him good again or something. But it's just as long as they don't repeat it too much and they don't make Jada Jacob. I'm fine with it. And I love like a crazy murderer, so I'm down with it.
Yes.
I think the show will actually have a very different approach to Marquise, though, because we all know how judgmental Ryan was of Kate, because of Kate not just, turning Alice in. So it's gonna be fun to see if she maintains that stance or if she's gonna change her mind eventually and come to understand like Kate's perspective and why she kept trying with Alice.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And she might even understand why she gave up at one point or another.
Exactly, because she's living it now. It's not just telling someone else what to do.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I was going to save this for later, but since you brought up Kate, I have to say that like a couple of days after watching the episode, my brain had like a little bit of an epiphany and put two and two together on the randomest thing. But basically, you know how Jada mentioned the whole thing with Marquise happening after the Joker hijacked the school bus? Do you recall whose lives were also changed by a car crash involving a school bus?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because it has got to be the same one. So the same event that changed Marquise's life forever also changed Kate and Beth's lives.
Yep.
Yeah, just all the parallels, basically.
Yeah, I mean,
sure.
It's like the show is tying up everything together, and I don't know how they keep track of any of it, because I had absolutely forgotten about this. So it's very nice to see that the writers have a good grasp of past, future, present in the show.
Yeah, I feel like Alice might just joke about how one car crash made two psychos or something like that.
That's very on brand.
Obviously.
Would be okay, but an Alice Marcus team up would be kind of cool.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
They're both
I'd
so
like that.
deranged and scary when they can be. So that's something.
I'm just here for the Poison Ivy and Alice theory we have that they might join up. So I'm like, no, but Poison Ivy.
I feel like we are gonna get a Batwoman Suicide Squad. It's just gonna be Poison Ivy, Alice, Marcus.
Oh,
Jada.
Wouldn't that be
Cool.
fun?
Yes.
So, surely you didn't think I had forgotten about Luke. I mean, I know he kind of went under the radar this episode, but even though I didn't exactly feel his absence since the rest of the episode was so strong, I still found it pretty weird that he would just sit there and not do anything after the comms went down. Like, I know we said we wanted Luke to bench Batwing for a bit, but that felt odd, right?
Yeah, there should have been at least a scene where he ponders whether to put on the Batwing suit.
Yeah, it was super weird. And I'm not sure if it was we're too focused on the other storyline, so we don't have time to go back to Luke, or if it was actually a clue that he's not feeling it at all. But I think, like you said, they should have made it clear with him pondering whether to go or not.
Yeah, sometimes they have to shorten episodes as well because of runtime.
Yeah.
That might be it. Maybe there was a scene, we don't know. But it did seem like he was just forgotten about and left behind. Maybe the episode had too many things going on, which is the usual case for Batwoman.
Always.
But it was kind of lame. But I don't think any of us really, really, really missed them.
Yeah, I mean, I know I speak for myself when I say I was pretty busy with everything else.
Yeah.
But
which is kind of sad because I feel like this is kind of a snowball effect they're giving us less and less and less Luke, to the point where if he has like a couple of scenes an episode, we don't even miss him. Yeah. Whereas if we were used to having a lot of Luke, just like we were before, with him being gone, we'd be like, hey, where's Luke? And I feel like, I don't know, it makes me sad.
It was going to be his season, so that's really sad. I was counting on a lot of progress on his character.
Yeah, I would say if I had to point a finger to something that I'm not liking about the season, it would be Luke's storyline so far.
Yeah, it was a bit messy, and now it seems like it's not going forward. Not sure what's going on there.
There's still time.
I think they're...
Yeah,
I think they might be saving it for the second half of the season.
Yeah.
Possible, yeah.
But is there anything else you guys would like to talk about?
I would like to mention that I really loved Brian's speech about, when she was thanking Jada for giving her up. I thought that was really powerful.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, we didn't know that Marcus was the way he is because he got tasered in the brain or whatever happened to him. But I still felt like it was quite powerful. It went with the Eat the Rich theme of like money doesn't buy everything and love is clearly more important. And the Jet household didn't really seem very loving, and maybe Ryan, I wouldn't say was lucky, but it's nice that she's at a point with her life that she doesn't have to be like, oh, I could have grown up with so many things and so much money and so much comfort, but she realizes that what she had was a real mother who really loved her, and that might have been better, even though Jada might have given her up to protect her and was actually a really nice mother. At that point, she didn't know that. So for her to realize that, like, love is more important was a really important and nice moment in the episode. And I really loved that. Again, really good screenwriting for this episode. Really nice moments. And also at the dinner party, I thought it was really funny when Jada mentioned that roasted suckling was a delicacy in most parts of the world because it's a very typical Portuguese dish. And I feel like we can bring our Portuguese cultural heritage into this
That's
now
so
because
funny.
that hasn't happened a lot.
I didn't consider that at all. That's really funny.
Yeah, it's very much a delicacy here because it's always for parties because it's very expensive. But even though it is for parties, it's still very much like a very typical Portuguese dish from any kind of class can eat it. And it was just really funny.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which I love. I fucking love leitão.
I hate leitão, but that's a hot take.
God damn it.
me but with bacalhau.
Yes, that's your hot Portuguese take.
Yeah, my hot Portuguese take is leitão is superior to bacalhau.
I agree. Okay, but moving on. I know everyone's brain was kind of fuzzy from Wildmoore, but as we talked about, this episode was like filled to the brim with foreshadowing, and something that really stood out for me was the fact that Zoe, the girl who died, was writing a dissertation on family dynamics, and she mentioned some type of theory that assigned the roles of rescuer, victim, and prosecutor to members of a family. So I can't help but think of Ryan as the rescuer, Jada as the victim perhaps, and Marcus as the prosecutor. So thoughts?
I still get kind of triggered with the D word because I just had it in mind. It's not a word that I like.
Sorry, trigger word. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it really is a trigger word for me. No, I'm just kidding. I've made my peace with it now. But I thought it was really funny that she would just bring up her dissertation like that to a dinner party. Like, you don't do that because dissertations
we don't want
like, eat away at your brain, and you don't want to talk about it at a dinner party. So like, when someone says, "What's your dissertation about?" you're like, "Hey, can we talk about the roasted suckling instead?" But obviously, it was a hint to something that wouldn't have just been there for nothing. So obviously it was a parallel or a hint or, a deeper meaning, which the episode was filled with. I think your interpretation is correct, honestly. I don't have any different one, but for sure it was put there with that in mind.
I just love the level of detail that Inez goes through as a host. I just want to say that she is bringing up some line about the dissertation. I didn't even consider that, but yeah, I appreciate your work because that's true. They wouldn't put it there for nothing, so it makes sense, and I agree. And yeah, just love your dedication.
Yeah, it would have been way too random if it was just a throwaway line. If it was just like, hey, so now I'm talking about my dissertation. No, it had to mean something. No, it was cool. It was really cool.
And, since I'm a good host and all, I have one last thing. But I don't know if you guys remember the bad guy that Montoya asked Alice to identify, but it turned out to be Flamingo. And I personally didn't know anything about him, but from the vibes alone, I'd like to hang out with this guy. And I'm just gonna send you a picture right now to our group chat, just for the serotonin of it all.
Okay. Oh my god.
And it should be there.
Dun, dun, dun.
He's amazing.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
I too would like a pink bike and a pink motorcycle
He looks so cool.
jacket.
I love the flamingo on the bike.
Oh yeah.
Oh, same.
Are we going to see him at all, or was that just an Easter egg?
I think it was just a small Easter egg.
Okay,
But,
cool.
fun nonetheless to see it.
I hope he's the main villain in season 4. Just make the show that extra gayer.
Wouldn't it be fun?
Yep.
Oh, well. Well, everyone, I guess that's it for today. As always, feel free to follow us on social media at Arkham_Archives, where we have some exclusive content such as episode bloopers and live Batwoman commentary waiting for you. You can also check us out on YouTube at Arkham Archives Podcast, and of course, we're also available on most streaming platforms. Depending on where you're listening from, please make sure to drop a comment or review so we can know what you think about this podcast and Batwoman as a show. We'd love for nothing more than to engage with you and build our own little community within this fandom. As always, thank you to everyone who helps every week in putting this podcast together, and a huge thank you for listening. Make sure to tune in next week for a brand new episode of Arkham Archives. Bye-bye!
Bye!